right, so we're back with part 2 where we're going to go into detail, discuss a Fatington blood. So there will be spoilers, so you guys just know that. If my lighting has changed, it's because I have a semi-headache, so I turned off my ring light. I'm like, actually, let's see. Is it still that bad? Oh, God, yeah. Okay, yeah. No, we're leaving it off, y'all.
I don't care. You're going to get what you're going to get. I don't care.
I usually do the ring light. The quality comes out better, but with a headache, you're getting the boob light from up above, you're getting the light from outdoor, y'all be happy. But anyways. So let's just get into it.
Yeah.
Freya. So number 1, we both know the reason I bought this book, right? Is my daughter's name is Freya. Okay, she's named after the goddess Freya. So when I saw this book and it was like Norse mythology and the main character is Freya, although I knew she wasn't the goddess, I was like, okay, I have to read this, right? Having Norse blood as well, kind of feel drawn to it. I just want to say I am so happy I am raising my daughter not to be like Freya in this book. Because I feel like Freya,
you just
like, it was a love.
And whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Right? I mean, so I loved her character in the beginning, right? She came off very strong. She came off very brave.
Yeah.
And then she starts making these stupid decisions. Like, she is really, like, just trusting everything Snorri is saying. And Snorri is essentially a chief, right? So Jarl Snorri. And she's just blindly like, okay, like, this is what a prophecy told you. Okay, like, he could be lying.
He could be forced into whatever. Who cares? So the strong personality that you thought that she was going to have, it's like, oh no, I'm just going to do whatever people tell me because I'm a martyr and I'm going to do this because this is what I'm destined to be, a self-sacrifice for everybody. Woo!
The fact that she doesn't question. She doesn't question it at all. And I'm like, oh my gosh, woman, if someone's going to be like, you're destined to do this.
But then she forms these crazy strong opinions that nobody else can touch on because she knows. It drove me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I love Bjorn, because I feel like he balances her out, because he's very logical. Yeah. He's very logical. He likes to strategize, right? He doesn't put all his cards out on the table. He sees the bigger picture, right? And he is very cautious to trust people, which you should be, right? Especially in this era. You should be very cautious. And here she is like, oh, I'll trust you. Oh, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, oh my God.
So many things that were just shoved in her face that she knew were wrong and that she didn't like, but yet she didn't stand her ground or do all these things that she said that she would or that she wanted. She just kind of was like, well, I'm going to bend over and I'm going to take it. Go ahead. Use me.
And her reason a lot of times is because she doesn't want her family to get affected. But in the end, her family doesn't give a flying fuck about her. Her family does not care about her.
I think she doesn't know anything.
She's ignorant
I think that's almost like a crutch. You're using that as a crutch, but not to mention you have to let things go when other people are not willing to do the same for you. And I'm not saying that relationships are always like equally two-way, right? And I'm not necessarily saying that, but they didn't care in the slightest. They used her when it was convenient for them, and then when it wasn't convenient for them, it was like, oh, forget it. And it was always trying to use, well, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen. And it's like, well, you know what? Dude, put your big boy pants on, put your big girl panties on, deal with it, figure out your own stuff. But she enabled them. She allowed it to happen. Totally. She had zero backbone.
The fact that she allowed her parents to marry her off in the first place to this douchebag, Raggi, or however his name is pronounced.
Raggy.
I mean, and they gave zero fucks about her because they knew how he was, but they did it for their gain, not hers. They didn't do it for her well-being, right? They did it for their own personal gain. And then when her father dies and, Snorri comes and does that whole, oh, you're going to fight with Bjorn, and because they want to see if she'll use her goddess protection, or if Hilm will come and protect her, because they think that she is a child of a god, but they don't know for sure. So this is the true test. And, well, turns out she is, right? And the fact that, she kills Vragi, and her brother is still, he's acting like he's there for her, but he's really not. He's more worried about his fiance or girlfriend or whatever the fuck she's called, right? He's more concerned about her. He's not really that super concerned about his sister. I feel like he was concerned a little bit, but I feel like he was putting on a show, if that makes sense. Especially when you read further on how he's treating her. Well, it's he's not caring that she's an actual person.
Well, and I think the whole family played a part, versus actually caring. Well, we're going to do this because we know what she's capable of. We know what she really is, or at least we think we know what she is. So we're going to play this part so it suits us. And it almost is, you know how narcissists like to knock other people down so it fits their narrative?
Yeah.
That's how I kind of felt like the whole entire family was. Well, I'm going to just keep knocking her down, not let her question who she is and everything else, not really know what's going on, so we could reap the benefits of it in the long run.
Yeah. Well, they just assumed that she's going to be this docile daughter, which, let's be honest, back in the day, that's what women were. You were not allowed to be strong. You were not allowed to speak out. You were not allowed to do these things. You were essentially property. And Danielle really portrays that. They are viewing her as property, and she's too naive to see it. She's blinded by, the idea of family, right? Because she loves her brother and she loves her mother so much. But what she fails to realize is they do not love her in the same aspect and in the same way. And when you learn later on that basically they give two shits about her, the mom doesn't care about her. The mom does not care about her. And even when her mom gets her just desserts, the way that Freya's still sad about it, I'm like, why are you sad about a woman who essentially sold you? Put you into slavery, basically. Why are you sad for the woman who treated you like this? And the fact that Bjorn is why are you sad? And he's questioning her, this woman treated you like utter shit, sold you, and you're still gonna mourn for her even after hearing it from her own words? You're still gonna mourn?
Well, and then she attacks the wrong people. Maybe, it's misguided. I mean, it's just,
it's ridiculous. It's
ridiculous. Madness, perhaps. I don't know. But I loved Bjorn. And she just really ticked me off the way that she was with him. Now, yes, in the beginning, and there are certain parts where you love their dynamic, but the way that she is with him is the way that she should have been with everybody else, but yet she wants to be that with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said,
Bjorn is a book boyfriend daddy of 2024. So, I mean, and she's too stupid to just realize,
if you really think about back then, right? Viking women, in comparison to other societies, had a little bit more freedom in comparison to other women in society at the time. So they had this whole responsibility of it was their job. I mean, I guess it's pretty typical view, I guess. And then anyways, but they're supposed to take care of the farm. They're supposed to do this. They're supposed to do that. But I feel like for a typical Viking woman, I feel like that there was a aspect missing where she was more submissive than a typical woman would have been.
Yeah. Well, and I think that might have just been more. I think that was more or less from her village, because remember, and I forget the character's name. I should have wrote it down. But she's the woman chief, and you know, it shows that women can be warriors, women can be chiefs. But I think it's very like village wise, like
Yeah.
it's very centric based on. In her village, women were more or less viewed as commodities, right? As property. But in other villages, women are the rulers. So I think in this book, in this world, it's not like a one size fits all for women. Like it really depends on what village and town you're from and how you're treated. And the village she's from, you're treated like absolute dirt. And I think especially her, she was treated like absolute dirt because her family knew the secret of her.
Yeah.
And I feel like they use that as a way to control her and get their way. Like, I just, towards the end of the book, when she sees her brother again and he's basically just vicious to her.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. But
I think it's because he feels the reins loosening and he doesn't have the control that they had before. So, well, now my true colors are going to come out. I'm going to be ugly.
Yep. Well, and that's like Snorri. Like, if she just says, you know what, screw it, because the only way Snorri could control her is by threatening her family. Well, now her mama's dead, her daddy's been dead, and her brother and his wife, they're now under Snorri's control because their brother is a fucking idiot and just willingly went there, not realizing, like, hey, you're being used as collateral. But the fact that she's now, that she basically had to, like, her and Bjorn, towards the end of the book, how they had to like fake their death essentially, by going down this waterfall that most people would not be able to survive. And the only reason they did was because of her goddess power, right? Is if that didn't happen, Snorri would have killed her brother, which honestly, good riddance, dude. Good riddance. Like, you treated your sister like crap. You were talking to her like crap, not even knowing all the stuff she's been through. Like, when they went through that, and I'm going to call it a quest. I know it wasn't a quest, but when they went through the mountain, right? And they're in the tunnels and there's all the dead, like, zombie people. It's like, you don't even know what she went through.
And all that.
Yes. And it's like, you don't even know what she's gone through. Her and Bjorn survived something that nobody has survived. Ever. And it's like, and you're treating her like she's a weak woman and she's still property when she's done something that nobody else has been able to do.
And she's also the only one that is like her, where she has been blessed by two gods that with a specific purpose of that is still maybe quite not really
when we
out there yet.
Yeah, because she's blessed by Hel, who is the goddess of the underworld, and then she's also blessed by Helene, which is the goddess of protection. And so it's like she's got like she's like a coin, right? So she's like, it's good side, bad side, because these two goddesses are on total polar opposites. One wants death and destruction, right? And torment, and one wants peace, protection, and love. And I feel like that's her personality through this first book. Is she's not sure who she is because she's got two parts of, she's got this part of this goddess and this part of this goddess, and they're fighting, right? And they're trying to take control, and that's where she's hearing that voice in her head, and that's the evil, right? So if you think about it, like, you have an angel, then you have a devil on your shoulders. That's essentially what's going on with her. And I think at her core,
Bjorn is so good for her. He is like the piece that evens her out if she would just allow him to and stop being so stubborn. Just hear him out.
She's stubborn. Well, and she jumps to conclusions on everything. Like, she always thinks it's Ylva who's doing everything when she has absolutely no proof. Like, she just thinks it, and she's like, oh, she's doing this. It was her. She's the one that was meeting with, what's his name? Like, and then, she's the one that put the ruins here, and it's just like, oh my God.
Well, and here's the thing.
No.
She's, even going into the way that I don't think she's as evil as what she is making her out to be, right? And this is part of the reason. The way that she did, yeah. So, and I'll tell you why.
I don't think
the binding. So, the binding spell that she did to bound her life to, like, she of my blood. Keywords of my blood. Who was of his blood? Doesn't mean she has to protect Snetty. It's Bjorn is of his blood. She can be and protect of that blood is what I'm thinking. And that's why she's very careful in what she says and how she does things. And she's playing a part because obviously if she steps out of bounds, that's going to be it for her. Yeah. So I think that that's going to come into play a little bit more later.
Yeah, I don't think she's I don't think she's really on Team Snorri. I do not think she is.
Well, and that's why I think she phrased the things that she does and says in a very specific way where it's not of blood can be anybody in your bloodline. That doesn't mean
I think she's actually Nordland, and I think she's infiltrated Skaland. And I think the king of Nordland, she might be related to him, like maybe a sister.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a connection there. That's what I think, because it's like you said, she's acting like, so there are things that point to her being the one doing all the stuff. But as you read the book, you learn it's not her. But Danielle did a great job of pointing the finger at her, right? But we learn it's not actually her. So it's like, who is
an agenda specifically for her son?
1,000% agenda. Oh yeah. I think that this is the king of Nordland, and this is their long-term goal to take over Skaland. Mm-hmm. Because if she's truly Nordland, right? And she had a son with Snorri, who's Skaland, then, when he dies, it will be easier for Nordland to take over. Because her son will technically be Nordland as well. So he can choose which one he wants.
Have a visitor. You want to say hi real quick?
Hi.
Hello.
Mom,
okay.
Gigi said, after their dinner, so when their dinner is done, you're going to come to their house and we're going to eat at their house.
Okay, baby.
Too cute. Okay, so like I was saying, I think that she's really Nordland, or that's where she's originally from, and then she kind of came in and masked herself as Skaland, and then that's how they're infiltrating.
Yeah.
I do feel there's something in the bigger picture. We're going to learn more in book 2, because as we learn, Bjorn's mother is actually alive. She never died. Yeah. But Snorri and everyone in Skaland thinks she burned to death, that she's dead. And, so at first I was irritated with Bjorn not telling Freya everything. But then when it came to the end, it's like, okay, he didn't want to risk telling anything, because if his mother is the one who truly is the one seeing these prophecies, and Snorri finds out she's really alive, can you imagine just the bloodbath and the hell that would do? So yeah, he's going to keep this information secret because he wants to protect his mother.
When she hasn't really figured out what is up yet, like what side she's on. She hasn't really figured that out. And although that I like them together and all that stuff, I think the biggest piece is just she needs to figure out who she is, and maybe that's what's coming in the next one. Because nothing.
Well, and she needs to. I think she's not gonna do that until she knows the truth of everything. But she needs to meditate on it, right? And stop blindly just believing people, because I feel like the ones she has blindly just followed and believed, those are the ones that were lying for their own manipulation, right? To further themselves. Versus Bjorn, he withheld information and lied to protect not to further, right? Mm-hmm. He's not trying to further an agenda of his own. He's trying to protect his mother and his people because, yeah, he was from Scotland, but he really was born and raised in Nordland, right? So it's like, yeah, he could have been born there, but that's not the culture he was raised in, right? Like, he's not a part of that. He doesn't know it.
He knows more truth and what
exactly. Well, yeah, he sees the whole picture. Exactly. He sees the whole picture, and you've got, the king of Nordland, and then you've got Snorri. They used to be besties, right? And Snorri just hates the king of Nordland because, oh, you killed my wife, when really it was really Snorri who was trying to kill his own wife. And I think he hates, the king of Nordland stepping in and taking his son because he knew that Snorri would try to kill Bjorn. I think he knew. And so Snorri I cannot wait until he dies.
No,
I cannot wait.
Yeah,
I can't wait
for him to be gone. I don't know. I'm caught with her. I think she has an agenda. Whether or not it's been a positive is the questionable thing. I don't think that she's necessarily. Every play that she's making is for her son to be the one to have that supreme reign.
Which leads us into, I really want to read more about the brother, her son, Bjorn's brother, in book 2 and 3, because I feel like he's going to end up playing a major role, because why even introduce him, right? Daniel only had him in a couple scenes and mentioned him more in passing, but you don't really get to hear about him and learn a lot about him. He's not really a forefront character. Hell, he's not even really a secondary. He's more like a third character. He's only a couple scenes, so I really want to learn more about him.
Their relationship is better than what the parental relationship is.
Yes, the brothers definitely do get along a lot better.
If you go by typical brother rivalry themes, is his brother going to find out the truth of something and then turn around and hate him and go after him, and then the two of them are going to be, and essentially it's going to be, I don't know, or he's going to know the truth and maybe his mom speaks some stuff into his ears and levels him out for some other reason. But I don't know, if you keep with typical trends when it comes to brother relationships and women and wars, at some point they end up going completely separate from each other and going against, their whole entire life relationship and hating each other for misunderstanding and, hierarchy goals.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. And I know there's mixed reviews, so kind of want to talk about some of the reviews here. The book overall, it's got 55,525 ratings as of today, which is June 2nd that we're recording this. The average rating is 4.04 stars, which I give it a 4-star, right? So I'm right on par with the average. 34% of people gave it a 5-star, 41% gave it a 4-star. So majority of people did give it a 4-star. 18% 3-star, 4% 2-star, and less than 1% is a 1-star. It is one of those books, there is some repetition. The one thing I think a lot of people, especially in the 1-stars that I was reading of those reviews, is a lot of these people are reviewing this book as if it's a single standalone book. But if you're reading this and you're like, I didn't finish it, it was just too slow and boring. Well, it's not a standalone, right? This book is not going to be the same as this book. This is a standalone. I expect from start to finish to be satisfied, no questions answered or unanswered, right? Maybe have some ooh, I wonder what could happen then, But this, I expect there to be a lot of unanswered questions, right?
You need to wait for all the books, or at least the second book, to be out so you can cycle through them, have some of your questions answered and then wait for that last book to come out.
There's some people that are like, I stopped 30% of the way through. Well, then you missed all the good shit, because there was a lot of good stuff in this book. Now,
and it's like, I understand, like, and you know how I am. If I can't get into a book, I will try. I'll kind of truck on a little bit more, but if I still can't get into it, I'll kind of let it go. And that really has only happened with a few books. And I know you and I were talking about it because I started I did start after you, and I had asked you, I said, well, it's a little slow right now, but it's good, but it's slow. So, and you're like, well, just hang on, you know, get through it. And which, fine, that's great. And some people, they can't do it. And that's totally okay if that's not your thing.
Well, and the one thing I recommend too is when people are reading books, especially, even if it's slow at the beginning, at least try to get a third of the way through, right? Because some authors, they really world build in the beginning, character build in the beginning, and then it starts to ramp up. So if you're giving up a third of the way through, you're not getting to the meat and juices of it, right? Or the meat of the story. You're just getting the little dribbles. So like really get into it. It's like the book Bride, right? I liked that book. I thought it was great. My sister said it was okay. It was the first Allie Hazelwood book I ever read, and I thought it was really good. And my sister was like, I don't know if I could get through it. And I was like, well, it does get better, you know, at like the halfway mark. And she's like, I just don't like this character. I don't even know why we're talking about this character. And I told her that character is so damn important to the plot. When you get to the end of the book, you will know that character is crucial. And she finally read it, and she got to the end, and I was like, so was I right about the character? She's like, yeah, you were totally 100% right. That character needed to be discussed during the book. They were very important to the storyline. I'm like, exactly. So a lot of times authors, they set like little Easter eggs through the book, right? And then it's revealed at the end. So, I mean, it's one of those, like, if you're gonna go into reading a book, like, and like I was trying to say, it's like Stephen King. I love him. He's a great author. But his books are so fucking boring until you're a third of the way, almost half of the way through, right? Because he's really building everything. But then once he's done building, it is go, 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 go. And you're just like, boom, mind blown, right? And I feel like in society, a lot of people are instant gratification. And if they're not, it's not instant, then, you know, they don't want to continue. Like, there was one review, they're like, the sexual intention was just, it was too much. And it's like, well, it's ramping up because you have these two people that are attracted to each other, but they're not supposed to act on their attraction. So it is a slow burn, hence the term slow.
Yeah.
You know, it's very slow.
Well, it is.
But it's crucial. Like, when you get, if this person had got to the end of the book, she would have realized why the crucial, because my God, it's sexy.
And I think that comes with reading the book, though. Part of the emotions going through a book. Oh my gosh, just do it already. You go through your own emotions while reading a book.
Yes.
Like, and it's, I don't expect
it's like dating for the first time, right?
Yeah. It's just, you're going through all these emotions because I mean, I sat there and I talked around. I'm like, oh my gosh, just stop. Just do it already. Like, you talk through it. At least I do. I don't know. I have my own thoughts going on in my head on it. But
I'm not like that. Because I think this comes down to if you're a smut reader or not, right? Like, if you prefer books with sex.
When I say do it already, not that way. But...
Well, you know, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if you read books where that is prevalent a lot, you're going to think that, right? Especially if in other books, it's more fast-paced, right? I read a lot of young adult books, which has, like, barely kissing and hugs a lot of times, right? So for me, this was perfect, right? Because it was a slow build. Now, I've obviously read other series with you where the sex is, like, damn near instant, and I'm like, whoa, buddy. It's like a freaking one-night stand up in here, you know?
Yeah.
And if people are reading, like, those type of books all the time, then yeah, they're gonna feel slighted and jaded. But, I mean, it was a good sex scene towards the end of the book, I thought. It wasn't the most graphic, right? Not compared to A Ruin of Roses. But it was a good sex scene, I thought. There was...
the standard right there.
The threshold. The standard. If you have not read A Ruin of Roses theories, read it. If you love sex in books, it is like, I have not read Haunting Adeline, but I would say it's probably, have you read Haunting Adeline?
Yep, I have.
Is Ruin of Roses like more severe on the sex?
Yes and no. The hard part about Haunting Adeline is the
BDSM?
No, the rape aspects of it.
Okay, yeah. So no, and that's why I didn't read it because I'm not into that.
I was just like, I didn't really. I mean, I know that they had disclaimers and stuff, but I just kind of like skimmed over them and I didn't read them all. So when I got to that, I was like,
yeah. But I mean, as far as like, because so I guess like, so the threshold is like A Ruin of Roses has a lot of sex, a lot.
Some of it was weird.
Mrs. Potts with the purple dildo. You cannot get more weirder than that, okay?
Yeah.
So, I know her name is not Mrs. Potts, but that's basically who the character was inspired by.
It was,
but, yeah. So, if you're expecting, like, extreme, then yeah, this is not extreme. This is, like, 2-star. It does, I think, the sex scene was detailed, but it wasn't overly detailed, Like, it had details, but it wasn't long. Yeah, I would say it was, like, I mean, it was like what you would see in a movie, maybe, like, like a sex scene in a movie. It wasn't crazy or anything like that. But it was good to read because it was like you got to see the evolution of the relationship, and then the fucking fallout the next morning, just like instant. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, we're building. We finally got trust. We've got them together. They're like, they love each other. They're there, and then it's like, I want to fucking kill you. I was like, how dare you do this to me, Danielle? That's my boyfriend. My book boyfriend.
If you can replicate.
I was just, I couldn't believe that. Like I said, Bjorn is my 2024 book boyfriend. I loved his character. I just loved his character. I love that he wasn't like an asshole. Like, he could be an asshole to other people, but he wasn't an asshole to her. He was very patient, understanding, but he was funny. He did tease her. Like, there was a lot of playful humor, and you got to see that.
He was 100% on her side.
I feel like, but I feel like you don't really get to see the playful side of main male characters in books, especially when there's like a romantic element. And in this one, you really got to see his playful side. Like, and how he wasn't always being serious. Like, and I'm going to circle back. Aquitar, right? Rasan. You constantly see the serious side. You're not seeing the playful, silly side of him, right? You're not seeing the teasing side of him. Not in the same aspect that you did in this one. Like, when he pulled her in the water and she got all wet and she's pissed.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just like, okay, that's fun. That's very fun, right? And it added a good humor, and it shows that like he's not taking everything so serious. Even though he's basically like vicious, like villain, like to people, like he's like the warrior, the vicious warrior, I should say.
Yeah, and it's if you think about Powerless, we talked about Powerless, the banter between the two of them, how it could be a little quirky and fun at the times, but this is a little bit more than that, which I like. It was
I liked it a lot. Well, and it's the fact that that's how, when they met, like, it was instant. Like, the banter, the joking, like, the teasing, it was immediate when they first met each other. So it wasn't like it was just, like, all of a sudden it started, right? It wasn't like with Peyton and Kai from Powerless, where, like, they met each other and it was serious, and then they kind of flirted, but not really, and then that banter kind of grew. No, this was, like, joking. This was right immediately when they saw each other, and you can see his playful, flirty personality, like, right from the start. But I knew when I read that scene, I was like, oh, this is a bad boy. Like, this is a bad boy. Like, and she's totally gonna fall for him. And she does, right? And he falls for her because she's very beautiful. And she's very strong-willed and very forward-facing, I would say. And I just liked it. I would say I'm very excited for the second book, but I wonder how their relationship is going to evolve or devolve. Like, I wonder if they're going to get past.
I think that she's going to make it really hard.
Yeah,
I think that I don't know if it's going to get as far. I feel like she's going to get it to the point where it goes so far and she realizes her mistake and then she has to turn around and fix it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
What's going to happen? I don't really know. I think she's going to realize I fought on the wrong side. I did something wrong. Look at all the damage that I've done. Now I need to fix this.
Well, that and like she just trusts what everyone says about Nordland. Like she just trusts it right away. And she's like, "Oh, they're going to raid our village." But it's like, "Bitch, you guys do the same to other villages." So
yeah.
Make it make sense. Like you can't point the finger at someone else when you're doing the same shit to others. Like that's not how it works. Like maybe some self-reflection, you know? Like if you don't want it done to you, don't do it to others.
I think it's going to take something serious for her to figure things out. If it doesn't, great, but I think something serious is going to happen in book 2 where she finds her way back.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think that her brother and his wife are going to be killed. And I think that's going to solidify her going on Nordland's side. That's my prediction.
There's a lot of books out there where they do such a good job. Like they built this story, they built these characters, like throughout the whole thing, you had everything that you need. And then once it came to the ending, it was like, cut, paste, done, I'm out. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. How did that happen? How did we get here? We're missing so much more. And I feel like there's so many books that do that. There's another series that I read, and I think it was the one, it was a Kingdom of Crows or whatever it was. Anyways, I liked it in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it got to the ending, and I was like, wait a minute. I feel like there's so much more that needs to be said. And I mean, of course, I'm hoping that's not going to be the case with this one, where you build up to all these high points and then it just fizzles out. I'm really hoping that's not what's going to happen. I don't think it will, but I really hope it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. I'm seeing a trend that a lot of people stopped reading this book at 40%, and that's really sad because it did get a lot better.
Well, and my thing on that is if it gets too slow for you, skim it until it gets picks back up.
Or take a break. Put the book on pause. I do that. I put a book on pause and then I pick up another book. And then when I kind of like, okay, I want the craziness and I just want to like just read to just relax, like I'll read this, right? You know what I'm saying? Like a more slower paced book, like I'll pick it back up. So the series, the Leveling Up series, I'm just slowly reading that. I just read it in between other books. Like it's not a fast paced book series. So I'm like, I don't need to sit there and binge it. I don't feel like I need to finish it one sitting. Hell, I've been reading book 3 for months. I just pick it up and I'll read a chapter here and there. And for me, that's good because it's a nice little mental break between storylines, right? Because when you read book after book after book after book, a lot of times they could get meshed together, especially if you're reading the same genre. So I like to separate my mind a little bit. And so the Leveling Up series it does that, right? It's a nice buffer between. So that's what I'm doing. I'm using it as my buffer. And so people, it's like, you can definitely use this as a buffer. Like if you're between 2 book series and you want to like, maybe you're going through series and you want to read like a book by itself. And obviously this one's not finished, right? You can read a chapter.
Ooh, my battery's getting low. 13%.
Oh man. So that means like, I gotta let you go. Okay. So with that being said, all right. Thanks for being available, Britt. And then thank you for anybody who is listening. I don't know if anybody does listen to us or watch us, but if you do, give us a like, give us a follow, let us know. If you don't want to, that's fine. Can't make you. We appreciate all likes and follows that we can get and views. And then we definitely like conversation. Well, we will catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you. Bye. Bye.